Imagine sitting in a courtroom, the air so thick with tension, it feels almost tangible. The walls seem to close in, amplifying every creak, every cough, every nervous shuffle of feet. All eyes are fixed on the judge, a figure of authority who holds the power to alter the course of a man's life. Everyone is waiting, breathless, for the verdict. Suddenly, the judge freezes, his expression shifting from stoic calm to barely concealed shock. His eyes widen as they lock onto the defendant, and the weight of recognition hits him like a thunderclap. The man standing accused of embezzlement is someone he knows. Not just someone, but a childhood friend, a boy with whom he once shared summers by the river, mischievous pranks in the schoolyard, and dreams whispered under starlit skies. Judge Thomas Bradford sits rigid in his chair, struggling to reconcile the man before him with the boy from his past. What happens next will leave the entire courtroom speechless. The silence is deafening, kind of silence that only falls when the stakes are impossibly high. Judge Bradford, known for his unflinching impartiality and stern demeanor, fights to maintain his composure. The courtroom watches him, waiting for his words, for any indication of what he's thinking. But inside, his mind is a whirlwind. "Mark, is it really you?" he wonders silently, his heart aching with the weight of the moment. It's been decades since he last saw Mark Evans. Back then, they were inseparable, more like brothers than friends. Life, however, had taken them in different directions. And now, here they were, reunited, under the worst possible circumstances. Clearing his throat, Judge Bradford forces himself to focus. His voice is steady as he addresses the court. "Mr. Evans, you stand accused of embezzlement. How do you plead?" Mark's response is soft but resolute. "Not guilty, Your Honor." For a fleeting moment, their eyes meet. In that instant, a silent conversation passes between them, a recognition of the years lost, the bond that once was, and the impossibility of the situation they now find themselves in. Bradford feels his chest tighten. This isn't the Mark he remembers. The boy who once stood by his side is now a man burdened by life's trials. The prosecution presents its case with cold efficiency. They lay out a damning array of evidence: fraudulent bank transactions, altered records, and testimonies from former colleagues. On paper, it's an open and shut case, but the defense pushes back, arguing that Mark is nothing more than a scapegoat, a convenient target for the real culprit's misdeeds. Bradford listens intently, his face a mask of professionalism, but inside, his emotions churn. The memories of their shared childhood are vivid, carefree afternoons spent fishing by the river, their laughter echoing through the trees, late-night talks about their hopes and fears. Could the boy who once dreamed of becoming an architect really be capable of such a crime, or had life taken such a toll on him that he had become unrecognizable? During a recess, Bradford retreats to his chambers, calling for his clerk. "Claire," she enters cautiously, noting the tension etched into his features. "Is everything all right, Your Honor?" she asks, her voice laced with concern. Bradford hesitates, then takes a deep breath. "The defendant, I knew him. We grew up together." Claire's eyes widen in surprise. "Do you want to recuse yourself from the case?" Bradford shakes his head firmly. "No, it wouldn't be fair to him or to the justice system, but I need to ensure that my judgment isn't clouded by our past." The trial resumes, and the defense calls Mark to the stand. His testimony is raw, heartfelt, and utterly human. He describes how he was betrayed by a former business partner, a man named Jordan, who orchestrated the scheme that landed him here. His voice trembles as he recounts the fear and frustration of trying to clear his name. "Jordan started making risky deals when the company was struggling," Mark explains. "I questioned him, and that's when everything fell apart. He needed someone to blame, and I was an easy target." The jury listens, their expressions shifting from skepticism to consideration. Doubt begins to creep into the room like a rising tide. The closing arguments are a battle of wills. The prosecution clings to its evidence, reiterating every damning detail, but the defense counters with a narrative of betrayal and injustice, a plea to see the men behind the accusations. Bradford watches the jury carefully, sensing their internal struggle. When the time comes, he gives his instructions with measured precision, his voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. Hours pass as the jury deliberates, the courtroom waiting in agonizing suspense. Finally, the foreperson rises to deliver the verdict. We find the defendant, Mark Evans, not guilty. A collective gasp ripples through the room. Mark's knees give way, and he collapses into his chair, tears streaming down his face. Bradford, ever the professional, remains composed, though a profound sense of relief washes over him. Mr. Evans, you are free to go. Court is adjourned. As the room begins to empty, Mark approaches the bench. His voice is soft but filled with gratitude. Thank you, Thomas. Bradford nods, his stern thoughts softening into a faint smile. Take care of yourself, Mark. The days that follow are a whirlwind of media coverage. Reporters dissect every detail of the trial, speculating on how the judge's connection to the defendant might have influenced the outcome. Bradford stays silent, knowing that justice was served, and that his personal feelings never interfered. One evening, as he sits alone in his study, there's a knock at the door. It's Mark, looking more composed, but still bearing the scars of his ordeal. I hope I'm not disturbing you, Mark says hesitantly. I needed to talk. Come in, Bradford replies, gesturing to a chair. They sit across from each other, the room filled with the quiet hum of years unspoken. Mark glances around at the shelves lined with books and mementos, a testament to Bradford's dedication to justice. I can't thank you enough for staying on the case, Mark says, his voice thick with emotion. I know it couldn't have been easy. Bradford shakes his head. It wasn't, but it was the right thing to do. The evidence here, lack of it, spoke for itself. You were innocent. They lapse into a comfortable silence, the kind that only old friends can share. Slowly, the conversation turns to their childhood, the memories spilling out like a long-forgotten treasure chest. They laugh over old pranks, reminisce about lazy summer afternoons, and marvel at how far life has taken him. Eventually, Mark speaks of his plans for the future. I'm thinking of starting over, he says, maybe opening a small business, something honest, something simple. Bradford smiles, a glimmer of pride in his eyes. That sounds like a good plan. If you need any help, just say the word. In that moment, their friendship, once thought lost to time and circumstance, begins to heal. They can change the past, but they can forge a new path forward together. Life, as they've learned it, has a way of bringing people back together in the most unexpected ways. Thank you for watching until the very end. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for more inspiring stories. Have a wonderful day.